Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This episode is quite different. There's no tool meat or grilling skewers or woodworking or restoring tools. Everything in this episode is done on a computer. Many people commented, "Hey, cool intro. Can you do a tutorial of how it's done?" So I'm going over how I made this intro. Before that, I need to talk about my logo design. But before talking about my logo design, I have to talk about my channel name. It's called Fusion Woodworking. Why fusion? What is getting fused? When I first started getting into woodworking, I was planning to make a bed, which I finished building in 2020. I also bought a bunch of power tools thinking I could make anything with them. That wasn't the case. I didn't have a workbench to make things on. So I started building a workbench. Long story short, I started buying vintage Stanley hand planes. I also started building a huge collection of them. I will do a video or a series of videos talking about my hand plane collection in the future. That forms the concept of fusion. My woodworking is a fusion of hand tools and power tools. Also, because of my heritage, I prefer the fusion of traditional joineries and modern designs. The fusion of Eastern and Western styles. Did I mention I like 3D modeling? I modeled some of my planes to further understand the design. This model is not 100% complete. It's still missing the blade, chip breaker, lever cap, but it's enough for me to trace a silhouette as a visual element for my woodworking channel logo. I believe a table saw is essential for my process, so I want to use a circular saw blade as a visual element for my logo. Modeling this is not difficult. Find a saw blade that's the right design for me and roughly trace the shape of a tooth. I know I want an 18-tooth blade, so I only need to model 1/18th of it and circular pattern it to get a whole blade. So 20 degrees is good here. To keep a smooth transition in the gullet, I need these two arcs to be tangent by making them tangent to the same reference circle. I also dimensioned them to be the same radius. After patterning, they form a smooth arc here. Then combine all the solid bodies. If you look closely, I also model all the carbide teeth. To make rendering easier, I applied a different color to the saw plate surfaces. In rendering software, I can easily apply a unique material to the teeth and saw plate. Speaking of rendering, in KeyShot, I give them different textures. Saw blade has a circular brush pattern. Some may call it vinyl record texture, but that's not entirely accurate. You see, on a vinyl record, there's only one spiral groove going from the edge to almost the center. That's how the needle can play the record without having to jump to the next circular groove every turn. Circular brush pattern is a series of concentric circles, not a spiral. Animation is a combination of camera movement and the rotation of the saw blade. Here, I added motion blur to get a realistic result. You can see my parameters here. It's actually really slow to spin only 10 revolutions in 4 seconds, but KeyShot can't generate a realistic result if I give it a higher rotation speed. In my test rendering, this is a good setting. Animation is pulling the camera away while the saw blade is slowing down to a complete stop. Here I added another set of materials to everything, all plain white, which will be used later. Rendering this is fairly quick since everything is just plain white. Motion blur is still necessary, which is critical in the final intro. Then I rendered a series of PNG images with clear background and import them as animation in editing software. With these two essential visual elements prepared, it's time to start designing my logo. I already chose the name Fusion Woodworking. F and W are an easy starting point. I first moved these two letters, plain, saw blade around in different combinations. Thinking, should the plane be a part of the letter? Maybe italicized? Maybe the plane can break out the saw blade boundary from various angles or degrees, and some more attempts. Maybe letters can break out the circular boundary, different fonts, adding a chisel as another visual element. To express the concept of fusion of Eastern and Western styles, I also introduced a Chinese frame saw in different layouts, but it's getting chaotic, too many focal points. I then played more with the text and frame saw blade. Added a Chinese plane, some more ideas. I like frame saws in general, but I haven't used any of them on my woodworking projects. I want to incorporate it, but it's not cooperating the process. More attempts were made. I added teeth to the saw blade. As it gets more realistic, it's losing my original abstract and simplified design intent. A few more iterations. Replacing letter I with a chisel. Then I landed on this. More variants based on this one. Bigger first and last letters. Replacing circular saw blade with the frame saw. And other combinations. Here are a few without a circular saw blade. Some perspective ones on the frame saw to make it less flat. But it drifted into chaos again. Like this one, total nonsense. Hoping to lead to something new. So I finally settled on this one. F4 is the final pick. I tried AI generated images as well, just seeking inspiration. I always wanted to use a circular saw blade, so it was in my words of input. The main takeaway from the AI generated ones is this: distorting one word, making the shorter word longer, the longer word smaller, and stacking them together. Here are some building blocks I made along the way. The perspective saw frame is actually converging to a vanishing point, not distorted randomly. After picking F4, I disassembled it into a few groups on top of a gray background. The purpose of this background is that I can see what I'm selecting. Also, this layer is set to not print, so it's not exported when the rest is. I generated white graphics with transparent background for logo animation. The main techniques used in Premiere Pro are from this video by Cineguac. If you're interested in this, please watch his tutorial. Out of respect to his work, I'm not playing his video here. So let's make the animation. Here is how my intro V1 looks. If you use a pair of earphones or headphones or two-channel speakers, you can tell the sound is moving from your right to left. I added this detail to provide a more immersive watching experience. If an object is moving across the screen, the sound it generates should do so as well. My audio source was only mono-channel, but I changed it to left and right and manipulated the volume of each channel to simulate the sound of a moving object. The table saw sound from the beginning is easy to capture. Just record when the saw is powered off. It goes side by side with my saw blade slowing down animation. Then the white graphics with transparent background are used here. As the saw blade is spinning down, the white blade cannot enter the scene yet. Only plain text are fading in with the chisel. As the spinning blade is about to stop, the partial white blade fades in to form a complete logo. Then text, chisel, and saw blade phase out, leaving only the plane to be animated. This is how I got my intro version 1. To get to the final result, I made a new one with the all-white renderings. This is how it looks animated. When I edit my video, animation goes here. In my project is on the second video layer, V2. Then I pick a clip that's somewhat interesting and place it here. In this case, is when I say, that's a huge saw vise. When V2 is turned off, this is how it looks. Then an effect called Trap Matte Key is added. Under Matte dropdown, pick Video 2. This effect looks at V2 for information. If it's white, it shows the content in V1 and vice versa. That's why in my animation in Video 2 layer, it contains only black and white. Of course, the gray in the motion blur area means semi-transparent. Everything stacked together, this is how it looks. As the blade is spinning with motion blur, you can see some colors from V1 clip. Just before the whole logo appears, add a transition from the clip to a color matte. It's a matte of only white color. That means when there's no V2 layer, my clip transitions to all white. But with the Trap Matte Key effect, it's doing this. Then the next clip kicks in. Everything plays out in this way.
That's a huge saw vise.
Alright, that wraps up this video. I'm not claiming to be an expert in any software I demonstrated. I know just enough in each to be able to get to this result. I'm fusing the bits I learned along the way and sharing them with you. I will make more design and modeling videos down the road. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share if you want to see more.